keep him busy, folks. Make sure you're in contact with them, and anything, as Colin said, anything that we can do, make sure you let us know. That goes early in the season, throughout the year. Regardless of how things may be going or may not be going for us, don't ever hesitate to get in touch with Colin or to get to me. Anything that we can help you with, make sure that you let us know. As Colin said, I appreciate you being here. I've got my staff in the back, same staff as we've had, continue to do a great job for us. Appreciate all of their work that they put in. And you know, with the new rules, we get 2 hours now, June and July, and there's some other NCAA changes that have taken place in regards to recruiting or access to our players. And the importance of having a tremendous staff has never been greater with all of the things that are asked of them and the things that have to get done in order to have a successful basketball program. And those guys have done a terrific job, and that has continued. With the rule change, we're 3 weeks in, and you know, our message in week one was about the process. You know, catching the ball with 2 hands, rebounding the ball with 2 hands, doing the detail things at both ends of the floor. You know, the importance of footwork, and you know, from a bigger picture standpoint, understanding that every week to 10 days we have an opportunity to get better, and that the season is much more of a process than it is about being as good as we possibly can in day 1 or in week 2 or in the first month. You know, we want to get as good as we can as fast as we can, but I think it's so important for the players to understand, especially, you know, and I'll refer to it a few times today, especially with the group that we've got. You know, we've got some young guys, and we've got some guys that haven't played a lot of game minutes, and sometimes they want to do everything right and they want to do everything real fast. They need to understand that just like each and every year, building your team is a process, and we want to be playing as well as we can when we get to mid-January, somewhere around that time, and finish strong, and this team to be as good as we can possibly be. And that was our message in week 1. Week 2, we talked about playing really, really hard. You know, as you start practice, at least for us, you do a lot of drill work, and that drill work sometimes slows down guys from in terms of how hard they're playing. And so last week we spent a lot of time talking about playing really, really hard. And then this week on Monday, our message was real simple. We've got to get more competitive. We've got to have more guys individually taking things up certainly one level from where we've been the first 2 weeks, and we've got some room there in terms of winning individual battles, how hard you're going to run the floor, and individual rebounding battles, keeping the ball in front of you individually when it comes to our defense. And that will be our message all week this week, is getting more competitive and working hard to win individual battles. Well, what we've learned so far, we've got a little bit different group. We're taller, we're a little longer, we've got a little more quickness, a little more speed. Because we've got a different type of team, we have an opportunity to play differently than what we have at the offensive end of the floor the past couple years. I hesitate a little bit only because you know, as we've worked at it in practice, you know, running sounds good until you've gone 3 or 4 trips up and down the floor. And we've had plenty of time now to watch some film, and I've been able to ask them, you know, more than once. Okay, we want to get out and we want to move the ball up and down the floor. How about this trip right here? Is there a reason we're jogging? And so that takes work, not unlike building your defense and having a great defensive team, or having a great half-court offensive team. You know, whatever area of the game, to be a good team in transition, to be a team that can really move the ball up and down the floor or really run with the basketball, you have to work at it. And so that we're in that process right now. You know, I mentioned it once. You know, we've got a handful of guys that have played significant game minutes. Beyond that, you know, we've got some guys that have been in our program, but have not had the same amount of game minutes. And then we've got a bunch of new guys. We've got 5 new freshmen, 2 new transfers. Wes, who sat out last year and is now eligible, of course. And that's showing up in practice. You know, there's times where we're going too fast on offense, There's times we're not going fast enough with some rotations on defense and our positioning isn't right. That lack of game experience has certainly shown up. And one of the things that we're doing this year in practice that we haven't done as much in years past is we're doing much more 5-on-5, much more scrimmaging. A lot of it comes toward the end of practice, and if we can get a good 10 to 12 minutes of 5-on-5 action to work on gaining some experience in that setting, we've done that much more this year than we have in years past. This team has, we've got 11 guys right now that can play for us. 11 guys that have done a good job with their preparation in the off season. Again, not all, some of them because of their game experience and what they've done to this point, some of them because they've been in the program, and some of the new guys. So it's a mix of our entire lineup. But we feel like we've got 11 guys right now that can play for us, and that gives us an opportunity to have a deeper team than what we had a year ago. Our team chemistry is really good. I've talked about that some. Maybe you've seen that. The leadership, Chip and Matt Morrison and some of the juniors are providing is good. They're doing it the right way. The new guys to the program they've been very humble. They listen well. Whether it's our coaching staff or the upperclassmen, they've done a terrific job of that. And you don't always find that, I don't think. We've had it in our program as well. With everything going on these days, sometimes young guys feel like they've gotten to a point where they've got a pretty good handle on things, and maybe don't listen to the level that they should. And we've got a crew of freshmen and new transfers that want to get on the same page, and they want to get there fast, and they've had a lot of respect and shown a lot of respect for upperclassmen, and that's a great way to start in terms of your camaraderie and team chemistry with your team. And so I like where that's at, especially this early in the year. The last note I've got in terms of what we know after 2.5 weeks is we've got a lot of work to do defensively and in terms of rebounding. Part of that, I think part of that is just having a lot of guys that haven't played a lot. I don't want to keep going back to that today because we've got some guys that have been in the program. But at the same time, it's until you've played a lot of games or a lot of game minutes, it's just different. And that's showing up with our defense and our rebounding. And so we've got plenty of work to do in those two areas. The good news is that we know some drills, right? We've, as do many other coaches around the country. We as coaches, we've got drills that we can do, and we can make that an emphasis. And so we'll make some improvements there. But we've got some work to do in terms of our defense and rebounding. A couple of quick notes, and then I'll open it up for questions. In terms of redshirting, Bennett Cook, Clint Carlson, Robbie Kennard, 3 of the true freshmen are guys that will redshirt this year unless something were to change dramatically with our team. Bennett or Clint could play this year. Robbie's got the ACL injury, so he will be out regardless of what happens. But I would anticipate all 3 of those players redshirting as freshmen. Casey Semler is a transfer from Kirkwood. He will redshirt this year as well. He's coming off of an ACL injury. And Paul Jesperson, transfer from Virginia, will sit out this year, the mandatory year to do with the transfer. And then Paul will have 2 years of eligibility left in our program. We've got a hard non-conference schedule. We've got 4 true road games. I didn't look back at the previous years, but I don't think we have had 4 true road games as part of our non-conference schedule. We've got that this year. And they are quality games. They're going to be hard games. Iowa State, of course, on the neutral floor, and then we've got some very good home games. So it's another good, challenging, hard non-conference schedule, the kind that we've worked to put together each year. So we've got an opportunity to, if we do well against it, when we start league play, we've got an opportunity to position ourselves for an at-large bid. And so that certainly has not changed with us. And then some of you may have seen already that the game is from an officiating standpoint, there's some big changes coming, and some of the things that have been points of emphasis in the past are now written in the rule book as rules. Most of it to do with freedom of movement for the offensive players, hand checking, bumping cutters. The block charge has been written completely differently now as to how that's going to be called. There should be either guys getting out of the way or the large majority of that contact being called a block as opposed to a charge. But those rules are worth taking a look at as you're getting ready for the college basketball season, because it's going to be significant. It's going to change the game from an offensive standpoint, and from a, they want a more free-flowing game. They want to increase points, and they've gone as far as to write it into the rules. And I think there's parts of it that that'll be very good for college basketball. An opportunity for the offense to be able to get to some places and do some things without all of the contact that maybe has taken place over the past couple of years. I think that's a positive. I've got some concerns and some reservations about the block charge part of it. We don't need to spend all afternoon talking about the officiating. I do think the new rules, though, are worth taking a look at, because it is going to change. It will change the game, the way it's played. Those are all the notes I've got, fellas. I prefer getting to your questions